Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here and we're going to talk about the new NASCAR calendar for 2021. And I do just want to say this is my second time recording this video, as I recorded 16 minutes of this video and then realized my microphone wasn't on. So we're back. But first thing I do want to say is the background a little bit different. We're getting floors put in. We had to move some stuff out of the way. So there's some stuff behind me that's not normally there. Couldn't get to my normal sitting location for recording, but we're here making it work. So the first thing I guess I want to say is the calendar finally is getting changed. It's been pretty much a very similar calendar for 20 years almost. I remember for basically the main things that changed with the calendar in my lifetime has been Rockingham coming off the calendar, Kentucky getting added to the calendar, some races here or there losing or adding a date, and the Charlotte road course getting added in. But that's really it. There hasn't been a major shakeup, like something crazy. And 2021 is finally that time. The calendar, just like the deals that they were in with these tracks were ending. A lot of them were ending in 2020. They were about 5-year deal. I remember when they announced it in 2015. I was like, really, dude? So they gave them time to work out something new for 2021. And here we are. It's crazy. It's exciting. A lot of rumors have been going around. A lot of stuff has been sort of coming out in the past weeks. And we already, of course, knew Nashville Super Speedway was joining the calendar. But what else? And today, we're going to talk all about that. Of course, Circuit of the Americas is also coming to the calendar. We knew that. Was kind of rumor, but today it became official. So, I guess before we jump into the calendar, I've always been really interested in adding in more road courses. I've loved watching NASCAR road courses. I always looked forward to Sonoma and Watkins Glen. And I was all for adding in the Charlotte road course in 2018. So, when it came out, and I made the video sort of like a preview of what I wanted to be in the calendar. If you go check that out, there was plenty of road courses on it. Circuit of the Americas being one of them, so I was very excited about that. But seeing this calendar, I'm super, super hyped. And I'm ready for more road courses. So we're going to jump into it right now. Of course, I'm super excited because I went through and recorded a whole video. And now it's gone. All right, so of course, there's some super, super excited things. First thing, of course, is Road America. Now, Road America is a very, very long road course. It's 4 miles, which becomes the longest track in the Cup Series, of course. Talladega's 2.6 miles, so it's over a mile at least longer. Almost a mile and a half longer than Talladega, which is fine. Road America, for me, I've watched the Xfinity Series. It's okay. It's not the road course I would specifically say, hey, add this one first, but it's very cool. Nonetheless, to have more road courses, and I believe this is going to replace Chicagoland, because Chicagoland and Kentucky are yeeted off the calendar. Now, there was a race there for the Cup Series in 1956, the only time that NASCAR ever raced at Road America for the Cup Series. Now, when I say NASCAR, of course, I mean the Cup Series. Of course, they race there for Xfinity Series now, but we're talking about the Cup Series. So, it's the only time that they ever raced there. And it also becomes the 4th of July date. Now, that's been something that was historically Daytona's until last year, or until this year, when it became Indianapolis. And now it's becoming Road America. I don't know. I think that's interesting. I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. I think that it should have just stayed Daytona, but, you know, it does add having a Super Speedway a little bit more excitement to the end of the playoffs. But again, I'm not really for the playoffs, so I guess that's why I don't really care about that change, or not for it. Next up, we have, of course, Circuit of the Americas, a 3.4 mile. Is that the one they're doing? Is a 3.4 mile layout? Of course, Circuit of the Americas is a Formula One track. It was purpose-built for F1 cars in 2012, or for the 2012 season. The U.S. Grand Prix has been there every year from 2012 to 2019. Of course, it was canceled this year due to the pandemic, which is kind of what delayed a lot of the stuff coming out with the calendar as well, trying to figure out one-day events, how many day events kind of thing. Like, we don't know how well this is going to be under control in February or March or April of next year. So getting the beginning of the calendar out to sort of figure out, can we have fans? Can we do practice, qualifying, that type of thing? We don't know. Now, personally, I would be fine with just leaving the calendar to have just the race, but I know a lot of people want qualifying and practice, so do half an hour practice, do a quick qualifying session, and we're good. That's what I like to see. Now, back to Road America, or not Road America, Circuit of the Americas. Again, that's one that I really want on the calendar. It's great for F1. Watched it last year, of course, being a fan of F1, starting last season. Watched the race there, played it in the F1 games, watched highlights from other races. So it's a track that I think is good. How a purpose-built track for light, sleek, open-wheel cars, like a Formula One car, and even raced there by Indy cars, now, starting last season. And how that will play with big, heavy stock cars, I don't know. It could be not as exciting as people think it could be, but it could be really good. Who knows? We've got a really long straight there, which is a DRS zone in Formula One. Of course, they don't have DRS in NASCAR, but it's a really long straight that they use that. That'll be fun. There's a big uphill on the start. It's going to be good. I'm very excited for Circuit of the Americas. The next track, of course, is the Indianapolis road course, going away from using the oval at Indianapolis. Historic track. The oval is, of course, but it's not brilliant for NASCAR. It hasn't been since the car tomorrow came in, and now the current car. As most tracks really haven't been. The only really bright spot for this Gen 6 car was 2014, and why NASCAR decided to get away from that package is beyond me. But 2014 was the last really, really good year with the package. Now, of course, from Indianapolis, for the last 2 years, I've liked it. Kevin Harvick's won there, but racing-wise, it's pretty boring track. So to go to the road course, great Xfinity race. Loved watching it this year. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. So to race Cup cars there, and hopefully that'll be something we'll be able to do in NASCAR Heat 5 this year, because they're going to add that track in at some point for every series, of course. So we'll take a look at it, but I'm super, super hyped to take a look and race that track and also just watch a Cup race there. I think that'll be a big addition for the Cup Series. It was great for Xfinity last year. And people say it takes away from the history of winning Indianapolis. It's still Indianapolis. It's still a great track. It's kind of the same thing when a NASCAR driver decided to win at Daytona in trucks or Xfinity Series. It's the same thing. It's still Daytona. And Indianapolis, it's still Indy. I guess, being the Brickyard 400 is a little bit different, but I think doing it on the road course would be way more exciting than it will be on the oval. I'm super excited about that. Next thing, of course, is Darlington getting its race back. Of course, Darlington was one of the tracks that got more races this year. It wasn't, of course, scheduled to. Its only main race was Labor Day for the throwback race, Southern 500. But adding back that date that it used to have back in 1960 until 2004 is great. Of course, that race sort of then they moved the Southern 500 date to that day, and then they moved it back. But that day, around Mother's Day, of course, a lot of people still call it or know it as the Rebel 400, as it used to be back in 60s and 70s and 80s. That race is going to return, that date. And or this year was the Real Heroes 400 or whatever. That date that we saw Sunday, the return race from the pandemic break, is the one that's being added to the calendar. And I think that that's cool. I think that Darlington's deserving of 2 races. They're going to use the low downforce package next year, which will hopefully make the racing better there. And I think that long as the race doesn't use throwback schemes and take away from the throwback stuff of the Southern 500 in the 400-mile race, I think it'll be brilliant. I think it's a great addition, just as long as it doesn't sort of trip over itself in that throwback vibe. You keep one as throwback, you keep one sort of as a normal race date. I think you do that, and it's brilliant. The next addition to the calendar is Atlanta Motor Speedway. That's going to be taking a date from Kentucky. Now, I don't know what Darlington's taking a date from. I'm not sure where that date comes from. But Atlanta's date is being taken from Kentucky. So Kentucky's going to be yeeted off the calendar. So really it comes down to where this Darlington one comes from. But either way, it's going to be good. Of course, they used to race their 2 races in 2000 up to 2010. And I think it's going to be good. Now, of course, who knows how it's going to be once they do inevitably have to repave it. It's a pavement from 1997, so it's going to have to be repaved, resurfaced at some point. Could become a little bit more boring than it is now with, of course, the really, really slick, worn-out surface, but who knows? So that is that. Now, again, I can't really figure out where that Darlington race is coming from, because it looks like Atlanta's date is coming from Kentucky. Kentucky's getting yeeted. It looks like Road America's date is coming from Chicagoland. And we're only doing one Michigan race? That's what it is. We're only doing one Michigan race. It's only getting, it looks like, looking at the calendar here. Alright, so maybe the Road America race. I don't actually know who's yeeting who, but basically I know the Nashville Super Speedway is yeeting a Dover race. Circuit of the Americas is taking a Texas race for Texas Motor Speedway. Atlanta's taking a race from Kentucky. So it looks like, obviously, Road America would probably either take Michigan or Chicagoland, and Darlington gets the other one. Okay, so to look at the entire calendar as it's broken down here, the first race, of course, the first points-paying race is the Daytona 500, February 14th. Of course, before that is the Busch Clash, which will be on the Daytona Road Course, but the first points-paying race, the Daytona 500, February 14th, of course, the first race of the season, as it typically and usually always has been. Of course, there have been a couple times it hasn't been, but typically the first race of the season. Then we go to Homestead, which absolutely wild. The Homestead in a span of 2 years has gone from the championship race to the second race of the season, but that's the way it is. It'll be kind of interesting to see how that works out. Then we have Auto Club, which is going to be its final time as the big track, of course. 2022 will become a little short track, which will be super, super exciting. I'm really ready for another short track on the calendar. Then we have Phoenix, Las Vegas, is staying there with the West Coast Swing, as they started doing that since 2015. Then, of course, we have the Atlanta race as it was before. I think the only thing for the West Coast Swing that got swapped was Las Vegas and Auto Club sort of swapped. Because I think it went Las Vegas, Phoenix, California. So after Atlanta, though, then we come to Bristol. Bristol dirt race. And for Bristol as a dirt race, I'm conflicted on this. I think a dirt race in the Cup Series is cool. Sure, it takes away from the special event that is the truck race at Eldora. I don't know if they're still doing that anymore. I saw rumors maybe they weren't, but either way, the truck race at Eldora, like, I guess it takes away from that being special, but you know what? The Cup Series on dirt is going to be cool. Now, I'm conflicted more about the track. Bristol becoming a dirt track. I'm on the fence on it. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I know some people are against it. Some people are for it. I'm not involved in either one. I think that it could be interesting. I think Bristol is a good track. It's one of my favorite ones behind Talladega. It's my second favorite track on the calendar. I love watching race at Bristol. And honestly, like, I don't know if it needs to be a dirt race, but I get to get more fans in the stands for the spring race. Of course, everyone wants to go to the night race. If you can only go to one, you pick the night race. So I think to add in something that makes it more of an attraction to go in the spring, I'm for that, but I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be as a dirt race. But I think as a dirt race it'll be good. I'm just not sure if I want Bristol as a dirt race. We'll say that. Next up, Martinsville, Richmond, Talladega, Kansas. All sort of staying relatively the same. Then we go to Darlington for its return. Then we go to Dover, Circuit of the Americas for its first appearance on the calendar. So that's the first new track. Of course, we've already seen Bristol dirt, so that's a new addition. Darlington, a new race date, but a brand new facility to NASCAR. The first time we're going there is the 14th race of the season for the Circuit of the Americas. Then we have the Coke 600 at Charlotte. Then we go to Sonoma. And then the All-Star race in Texas. Texas Motor Studio, of course, losing a points-paying race, but gaining the All-Star race, which is very, very unfortunate that they gained the All-Star race. But it's enough to see 2 points races there. It'll be a shorter race, maybe be a little bit better. There's some restricted plates on it like we saw at Charlotte in 2018, and we'll be good. Then we go to Nashville Super Studio, of course, another new track added to the calendar in 2021. Then we go to Pocono for the doubleheader there. Of course, we saw Pocono having a doubleheader initially scheduled in 2020 before the pandemic and everything hit. Of course, we saw more tracks become doubleheader races after the pandemic shake up of the calendar, but really, really cool to keep a doubleheader on the thing for Pocono. Going 2 times in 6 weeks. Didn't really make sense. So to do a doubleheader, I think it works out brilliant. Road America, of course, then 4th of July. That'll be exciting. Ready for that. Then we go to Atlanta for the second race. Of course, the replacement for Kentucky. Then it's to New Hampshire for its only race for the Fox Resort Casino 301. Then we have 2 weeks in between here from July 18th to August 8th when we go to Watkins Glen. I think that break is for NBC doing the Olympics because, of course, the Olympics got canceled in 2020. It'll be rescheduled in 2021. So I think that's why we have that break. Of course, we had that this year in the summer. There was going to be a break in the calendar as well, since NBC has the rights to the Olympics. They're going to throw everybody at that event. And the Summer Olympics do interfere with that every 4 years. We saw that in 2016. And, of course, we were going to see that in 2020. Now we'll see that in 2021. It doesn't matter in February for the Winter Olympics. As we saw in 2018, the first time the NBC's had the Olympics and NASCAR rights at the same time. It didn't matter for the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang in 2018 because Fox was broadcasting in February. It more interfered with their football. Like right when football's done, everybody's like, all right, football's done because that's the Super Bowl the same year. Football's done. All right, everybody go to South Korea now. But it matters more for this because, again, they're in the middle of their broadcast, so they can't just be like, hey, you want to go to some NASCAR race and do your stuff? Or we can just send everybody to the biggest 4-year sporting event. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to send probably everybody to Japan. But then we have Watkins Glen, the road course at Indianapolis. They have Michigan's only race, it looks like. And then, of course, the cutoff race for the playoffs or whatever, regular season at Daytona. Then we go and do the playoffs, which nothing's really changed with that. Darlington, Richmond, Bristol, first round. Las Vegas, Talladega, Charlotte, second round. Texas, Kansas, Martinsville, third round. And, of course, the championship being in Phoenix. So, of course, seeing that Kentucky and Chicagoland are on the calendar. Well, actually, we're going to lose a Dover race, lose a Michigan race, lose a Texas race, lose Chicagoland, and lose Kentucky. The tracks that are losing one race, it's okay. Texas, I think, again, to lose a mile and a half tracks for other tracks is good. I think to get rid of a mile and a half, get rid of Texas Motor Speedway for Circuit of the Americas, brilliant. Dover for Nashville Super Speedway, sort of inconsequential. They're both boring anyways. No. Dover doesn't really draw the biggest crowds. Not really the best track, so switch it up, get something new on the calendar. Then we have Michigan. Again, dropping that for whatever. I don't know, Darlington or the road course race. I'm not sure which one it is. Pretty sure it's Darlington, though. Dropping Michigan. It's whatever. The tracks that lose a race, Chicagoland was one of the better mile and a half tracks, but it didn't have the biggest crowds. So again, to lose that for something else is fine. And Kentucky, just to swap with Atlanta, I think it'll be better racing for a year or two. And then if they repave Atlanta, it'll take a few years for that to become good again. But again, dropping a few mile and a half tracks I think is good. Because the only one that got added was Atlanta. So we dropped three mile and a half races. We got 2 new road courses out of it, and another race at Darlington. Technically we lost 2 mile and a half races, right? No, we lost 3. Kentucky, Chicagoland, Texas. What races? Okay, so tracks that got dropped. Dover for Nashville, Kentucky for Atlanta, Chicagoland for whatever. I should stop saying it that way. All right. Dover, Kentucky, Chicagoland, Texas, Michigan. Those 5, yes. So 3 mile and a half races. So we dropped 1 basically. Dropped 2 because one of them got switched out. So losing Texas entirely, that date became something else. And same with the Chicagoland date. I think that's brilliant. I really like that change. I think it's good. We're going in a good direction. Surprises for the calendar for me really was honestly the dropping of Kentucky. That was the biggest surprise for me. Dropping Kentucky for Atlanta, big. And also not adding in Iowa. Those were the 2 more shocking things for me when the calendar came out. The rest of it I'm not really surprised by. It's been rumored and talked about. But Iowa, there's been a big push for NASCAR to bring the Cup Series to Iowa. And for that, surprising that didn't happen. And Kentucky, that's a newer track. That's the newest, solely different facility on the Cup Series schedule. Very strange to see that track get dropped. Compared to, because of course Charlotte Red Course is technically newer, but it's the same facility. Charlotte Motor Speedway has been there forever. So to see Kentucky get dropped, I'm not disappointed. I'm just surprised. So again, the only thing I'd really change, I'd add Iowa in, but besides that, I'm happy with the calendar. I'm very, very excited for 2021. Big shakeup, biggest shakeup I've ever seen in my life of NASCAR calendars. So it's going to be brilliant. I'm hyped. Really, really looking forward to it. So yeah, that's that. I don't think there's anything else to say that I wanted to throw in there. I think it's good. I think we'll have some good racing next year. I think there's gonna be some good tracks in there, good mix. But yeah, that's really it. So I'm overall, I rate it very, very high. Probably like a 9 out of 10 for a calendar change. If you added in one more short track, it'd be 10 out of 10. But, and again, the other thing I guess that was shocking to me or surprising was, that's what I was going to say. I was thinking about it, I'm like, I almost forgot. Bristol dirt track. Surprising to see them say Bristol short track. Dirt track. I'm not surprised to see a dirt track. People have wanted that when Sense Outdoor sort of did its dirt derby. People said, oh, let's do Cup there. And I was big on the hype train. Not going to lie. But, yeah. Surprised by that, I guess. At least it's happening this upcoming season. Besides that, most things are what I was hoping for when I sort of built my own calendar. I guess besides the fact that we still have so many doubled up races, a mile and a half, so I would cut that out a lot of my calendar. But besides that, everything's brilliant. I like it. So with that, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.